Let's get some more analysis of this by crossing to Washington now. And Susan Lindau, she's a journalist, author and anti-war activist, joins me from there. Thanks so much for being with us here on RT. Now, I've read one of your articles in which you said that the US and the UK have been planning this intervention in Libya for well over a year now. But many would ask, why would they want to do that, given that their relations with Gaddafi had improved dramatically over recent years?
Well, first of all, we began to hear last summer, it hasn't been quite a year, last summer we began to hear that Gaddafi was pressuring the US and British oil companies for compensation and reimbursement for the damages from sanctions in the 1990s. Gaddafi had been put under sanctions for the Lockerbie bombing, the bombing of Pan Am 103, and the United Nations had demanded that Libya turn over 2 men for trial at The Hague. What happened at the trial was the United States paid witnesses $4 million apiece to testify against the Libyans, and those witnesses have now recanted their testimony. The Lockerbie trial made it clear that Libya had nothing to do with that case, and it has been a great embarrassment for the West. And now Gaddafi has, last summer we began to hear that Gaddafi was trying to gain some compensation, some kickbacks possibly, some fees from the oil companies. And in October, Occidental Petroleum and Chevron, two major U.S. oil companies, pulled out of Libya. And I think from October on, there was going to be something that would happen to Libya to punish them for making things hard for U.S. oil. It's definitely an imperialist action. Did
Gaddafi see this coming? Did he have any idea about this possible action?
I don't think Gaddafi saw it coming, but I think that last summer we were talking about how the United States would not be passive in its response. So I would say from about June or July onwards, we knew that something was going to have to give, because these two opposing forces, but Gaddafi's claim is righteous. The United States paid those witnesses. Those witnesses are Western witnesses. They've admitted they've received the payments.
But do you think Gaddafi should be allowed to stay on, or is it the right thing that the US, the UK and France should now try to remove him? Is this the right thing to do?
Well, I'll tell you, I think NATO is putting out fire with gasoline. I think that they're making this situation much worse. Threatening war crimes against any entrenched leader makes it very difficult for that leader to exit the stage gracefully. And we want them to move out peacefully so that there will not be a need for military conflict.
Is that likely to happen?
Threatening war crimes defeats them.
You've got a lot of experience. You've covered Libya, the United Nations beforehand as a journalist. You've got a lot of experience and knowledge of Libya and Gaddafi. Many people are saying the only way out is diplomacy, but is that really likely from his point of view?
Well, I think, first of all, that if France and NATO continue this, it will go on for 18 to 24 months, and then the following will happen. I think that if it will either become a protracted conflict, or immediately the West will realize that it has embarked on a tragic course and will back away from this.
And just briefly,
there is a way to do this.
Okay, just very quickly and briefly and finally, you were against the intervention there in Iraq. Are we going to see something similar happening now in Libya?
I think that what has to happen is the Red Crimson and Doctors Without Borders need to go into Libya. That requires a dramatic reduction in the conflict so that they could set up base there. And then it's going to have to be, France is going to hate this, a peacekeeping force from Algeria, Morocco, Tunisia, very small. Gaddafi might be persuaded to accept local intervention, whereby local peacekeepers would come in on the ground and would get in between these two warring parties until possibly elections could be held in 6 months.
Okay, Susan Lindau, thanks so much for your time, for joining us live there in Washington, D.C. Thank you.